there was no real one aha moment because it's all I've ever done. So I just kept doing it. Like, you know what I mean? There was no one big moment. I just kept doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it. And so, yeah, there was never any one specific turning point. It just kept growing. But like I said, very small, which I look back on, I'm so grateful for, because all the people I worked with before, the big stars I get to work with now, I learned so much from them. And, not all of them were great and talented. Some had other jobs, but they came in just because they wanted to for fun or enjoyment. And I learned so much because if you can make those people get better, people that don't really have a lot of vocal potential and don't have aspirations of being great, so they're not practicing that much. If you can improve them, well, then you can improve anybody.
Right. You can improve people with like a ton of talent.
Yeah, that really have talent.
Well, it must have been word of mouth, because if you go onto your social media profiles, you basically have no Facebook. Your Instagram has, I think, one picture posted.
Because I just started Instagram. The podcast company said, you got to do an Instagram. I was like, no way. I've never done anything. And they're like, no, you have to. So they set up a few accounts and they were like, what do you want to call it? Because there was one that someone set up years ago and I never touched it. And I couldn't remember the password. So they said, what do you want to call it? We're going to do a new one. And I was like, I don't know, Eric Vetro finally. And so that's what it is, Eric Vetro finally. So I've been posting there. So I think I have like 12 pictures in the past week. And then there's one that's for the podcast, Backstage Pass EV. And I never did that before. And I always thought that my clients appreciated that I didn't. So I wasn't always trying to trade on their fame or whatever. But now I think they understand that that's the only way you really advertise, right? A podcast is by social media. So they were like, you got to do something. So now I'm doing it.
Unfortunately, it is by social media. I always say, if I wasn't doing this, you would probably never see me on social media either. So it's a job. It's going to suck you in. Just beware.
I don't think it will. I won't get sucked in, but I'll do just enough because, I do want to get the word out. I think people will really enjoy it. And not just people who want to be singers. I think that anyone can be inspired. If you hear someone like Ariana Grande, who, let's face it, was born with a pretty spectacular voice. But when you find out how hard she works, that, her whole day is geared towards that performance at night. I think anybody, whether you're a dancer or a sports person or anybody, is going to go, oh, wow, when you work really hard at something, you get really good at it. But that's the only way to do it. So I'm hoping it inspires anybody who listens.
How did this whole Backstage Pass? I mean, we're going to go through some of the people you work with. You do work with the Ariana Grandes and many other names. Whose idea was this? Like, how did this come about? I mean, it's a great idea. Like, these people, you're working with them.
Yeah. I was on a podcast. I was on one episode, Michael Lewis, the author, he's written a lot of big best-selling books like The Blind Side and The Big Short, Moneyball. So I was on an episode of his show. It was a challenge. Like, can you really make anybody sing? And so I worked with him to make him sing, and he sang at the end of the episode. And so one day we were talking, and I said, yeah, I started a book years ago and I never had time to finish it. I just didn't have time to sit and do it. And I was interviewing a lot of my famous clients on what did they think, how did they do it? Like, what was their process, all of that. And he said, that's a podcast. And I went, oh, I don't know. And he was like, no, it is. And then next thing I knew, his company, Pushkin Industries, which Malcolm Gladwell co-founded, they called me and said, we think you should do this. And that's how it got started. I didn't know what I was doing, but I called Ariana, Shawn Mendes, Camila Cabello. I called a bunch of them and said, what do you think about this? Is this a good idea? And everybody was like, yes, I'm in, I'll do it. I was like, all right.
Well, I'm sure then Pushkin said, wait, you can bring an interview with Ariana and Shawn Mendes and Camila Cabello. And yes, like, green light, green light, green light.
Well, I didn't promise them that in the beginning. I was like, I don't know if these people are going to want to talk. I don't know if they're going to want to do it. I really didn't know. I was like, either want me to talk about voice and the process of it and encouraging people or not. And so, but they seemed all for it. But then it was obviously the icing on the cake that everybody said yes.
That's the icing on the cake. So let's do some quick hits. So like Ariana, you said, like, just what? She's a workhorse, just works.
Yeah. But, I think what you get with her and with most of the people is it's their passion. So it's really not work. It is work and it's hard work and it's tasking and exhausting, but they love doing it, and I can see it in their eyes, even when we're doing a lesson and we do work on a song, I can see it in their eyes that they're loving doing it, enjoying that. I've been with Ariana for probably about 14 years. And so I've known her when she was really young, and she would just get this look in her eyes when she was singing, and it was beautiful, just at my house or at a party at my house. We talk about that she sang at parties at my house. And same thing with a lot of them. Shawn Mendes, so dedicated, wants to do it every day. Rosalia, they really enjoy it. It's their passion. So, they enjoy it.
What about Katy Perry? What is Katy Perry like?
Oh my God, Katy Perry. One of my favorite stories about Katy Perry is I never really traveled with her, but one night we were somewhere in a hotel getting ready, and then she was performing at some award show. And we all got in kind of the same Sprinter and rode over together. It was like, within 2 blocks or something. And the security guard was a little funny, and her driver was just, I'm with Katy Perry. And she said to him after, please don't ever, ever speak to anybody like that. She said, he's doing his job. He's trying to protect us and everybody going in. And I thought, oh my God, what an amazing person. She really cares about anybody around her. She's very maternal like that. She's very caring. So working with her was great. And
so she said to you, like, because you said to the security guard, and then she was like, just please treat everyone.
Treat him with respect. Don't be abrupt with him.
That says a lot about.
Yeah, she was great. And she was always so supportive of other singers. I even say in the podcast, Ariana's first big televised appearance was Ellen. And within minutes after it aired on television, my phone started, I kept getting bzz, 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 and I look, and it's Katy Perry texting me and goes, that girl's amazing. Because I had introduced them a while before Ariana was famous, and Katy was like, she's amazing. She's incredible. She has the best pop voice there is. I want to talk to her and I want to encourage her and blah, blah, blah. So she was always very encouraging of other singers.
Do you ever, I know you don't spill and it's all confidential, but like, do you ever, when someone comes to you and they're like, let's practice this song, is it like specific songs of like, this is the next hit, like the album's not out yet? Like, do you get, do you hear all these songs a lot of the time before the rest of the world does?
Yeah. I mean, part of my job is, I try to enhance people's voice, make them sound better, really show them how to maintain their voice so they keep it, they don't lose it. And then a lot of times it's, how do we perform? How do I get them to perform the song as great as it sounds or as perfect as it sounds on the album every night on tour, which is not easy. It just isn't, I mean, in the recording studio, that might be the one thing you do that day. Get up, go to the recording studio, record the song. If you're on tour, you might get up at 5 a.m, do, a television show, do an interview show, do some radio shows, do a meet and greet, do the sound check, talk to the people at the theater, talk to your musicians, and then get on stage. So it's a whole nother world. You could be vocally exhausted if you don't take care of yourself or use the right technique.
Yeah. That makes sense. Do you have any situations where, and you don't have to mention who, because I know you won't, like where you've seen, you're working with some big celebrity and you're just like, diva alert, like man or woman, you're like,
I have been so lucky. No, I used to say, I can't write a tell-all. I can't even write a tell a little, because they've all been great. I seriously mean that. I know no one believes me when I say it, but it's true. There's just been no diva behavior. Most of these people are really great people. And when they know you care about them and they trust you, they treat you well, So I think that I'm sure that there's people I've worked with who have had maybe some behavior in the past that could be perceived as, not so great, but you just never know what pushed them to that point. You know what I mean? Like usually something must have gone wrong. Somebody didn't do their job. Somebody made a mistake. So they probably got agitated like we all do, right? We all might go, I can't believe you did that.
I get agitated, not in life. In life, I mean, you could like slap me in the face and I would say thank you. But work-wise, I get agitated about 7,000 times a day.
Yeah,
I mean,
happen.
I keep it to myself mostly, but sometimes I'm sure that comes out in the inappropriate ways.
Yeah, I just haven't seen it. I swear I would tell you. I wouldn't tell you who it was with. I would tell you.